This century is going to be the century of the brain. We know enormously more about how human brains function than we did 30 years ago. We know only a pittance compared to what we will know 30 years from now. And as we understand better how human brains function, and more importantly how they malfunction, it will have changes. It will make changes in our society and important changes in our law. And that's what this project is about. I'm joined by about a dozen other scholars in the network on diminished brains. We have philosophers and neuroscientists, lawyers, judges, and others to try to explore the implications of expanded knowledge of diminished brains for the law. Now, one problem we have is the term diminished brains isn't a very good term for what we're looking for. We're really talking about brains that are other than normal, competent adult brains. Brains that are different from the norm, and how that difference affects or should affect how the law looks at them. The area that has attracted the most attention within our network is the question of criminal responsibility. What is important here? What the different theories of responsibility, because there are lots of different theories of criminal responsibility and theories of criminal punishment. Which of those theories would ask what questions about what's going on in people's brains? And then knowing what questions are important, try to design and implement experiments that will tell us something about what actually is happening in the brains of people who've got dysfunctions that seem to lead them to a higher level of criminal activity. One of our working groups is focusing on adults who have significant brain damage or brain abnormalities. Both people who have frontal lobe damage or frontal lobe dysfunctions and people who are psychopaths or sociopaths. We're going to explore how neuroscience might tell us more about people in that condition and what it might tell us that would be relevant to legal questions. We have hundreds of thousands of fellow Americans around this country who are in persistent unconscious states, in persistent vegetative states or minimally conscious states. We want to try to design experiments to help us understand better what's going on in people in those kinds of situations, as well as to put out white papers and other policy papers and discussion papers to try to help guide people today in interpreting the very early, very fragmentary, and undoubtedly what will turn out to be contradictory first scientific studies that come out. Our charge over the next few years is to try to understand better, both through discussions, writing, talking, arguing out these issues, but even more importantly, through designing and implementing actual neuroscience experiments, putting people in MRI scanners and looking at the results and having results come back that are relevant to the legal sides of these issues. Ultimately, our group in the Network in Diminished Brains, like I think all of my fellows throughout this project, are interested in figuring out how neuroscience and the law can interact in a way that will maximize the benefits to our society and minimize the harms. And we're all very grateful to the MacArthur Foundation for giving us an opportunity to do that.